Hello, everybody. This is Angel Arts, and welcome to another session of our spin-off Wizarding World tabletop campaign, the Orion campaign. And today, I am happy to say that we have a guest player with us. Hi, Roma.
Hi, everyone.
So, Roma, for those people who might be wondering, have I seen this person before? Where do I recognize this person? Could you please explain why they may know who you are on my channel?
Sure. Some of you may recognize me from Hark's Pokemon Spectrum campaign. I played Molly Moon and I played the Grimer Ew in that campaign. And you might have also seen me in some collaborations on YouTube, on Hark's channel on YouTube.
We did a challenge. What was the challenge that we did?
It was the Pokemon Showdown challenge, and
With
it's
food.
with food. Yes, yes. And we also
I'll,
did Monster Prom together.
yes, we did. I'll put a couple links in the description and in the video as well if you guys are interested in checking out some fun that we had with Roma. So
Mhm.
thank you again for joining us, Roma. And Roma's here because she's going to be portraying a guest character. Could you tell us a little bit about her?
Sure. Her name is Anira Al Hakim, and she is actually the older sister of Naila Al Hakim. And she was actually born as a squib. And so she is a bit of a disappointment to her extended family. Her immediate family, I like to think her immediate family still loves her and stuff. But as a squib, she's always felt kind of from left out from basically everything. And she has a job. Well, she is currently working at the Ministry of Magic, but just as a scribe, just as a lowly scribe right now.
We're going to go back and explore a bit of Vienno's past. So the date is August 1st, 1997. Now, because it's 1997, this is well during the time of Voldemort's second rise. So when he came back essentially from the dead, since the events that happened in Book 4, Goblet of Fire. So right now, in general, the Ministry of Magic is under like high security. They've had incidents with Death Eaters. So things are really busy right now in the world climate, as so to speak. However, other than that, today is just another normal day, and Vienno is actually going to be visiting the British Ministry of Magic, and the reason why actually I'll let Ronick explain out of character. How did your character meet and start talking to Anira, uh, Ronick?
Um, they started as pen pals. They wrote each other a lot of letters, and when learned about Anira's hobby, he got really interested, and they started to trade in ideas, and they became pretty close friends due to that. They might have met before, maybe a couple of times before this meeting.
Okay, great. So, just to set up the scene for the viewers, right now Vienno has a great opportunity because, as a artificer, inventor of magical items, however you want to refer to him as, he has this great opportunity to present to the Ministry of Magic, more specifically the Department of Ludicrous Patent Office, the Ludicrous Patent Office. Now, as I explained to Roma and Ronick just a little while ago, I'm sort of referring to the Ludicrous Patent Office as really anything that is a magical patent. So just because it's called ludicrous, I'm using that term more as a blanket term of anything magical. It doesn't necessarily have the connotation that it's ludicrous, like it's crazy. It's just this is where you go if you're trying to patent some new magic item. And so Vienno has this opportunity to present this, which is not something that is typical of someone of his age. They normally reserve this for people who are much better established in the wizarding world. But somehow, and maybe they'll get into it during their roleplay, somehow Anira was able to pull a few strings to give him this opportunity. So we will begin the scene at a public Muggle train station where Anira will be meeting Vienno. So let's say that Anira is there and Vienno is just getting off the train now, and you'll see each other, and go ahead.
Well, Anira, hello. Nice to meet you again.
Vienno. Nice to see you again. Welcome to England.
Thank you. This has been some time since I've been here.
Well, I hope this visit is productive for you, and they'll start walking.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, how have you been? Working to the ministry now?
Oh, being the scribe is, well, I like to let my parents think it's such an honorable job, but really, I'm just a scribe.
But I would think you would do such a great job there. You're such a great person.
You're gonna make me blush, Vienno. Well, actually, it does give me a great opportunity to see all the other inventions that everyone puts forward. Gives me a lot of ideas.
Ooh, have you got any so far?
Well, recently they've been a little bit mundane, but there was one person who tried to patent some kind of explosive. It looks like a regular coffee cup, but when you throw it down, it explodes. But during the poor man's presentation, it actually exploded a little earlier than he intended. So you can imagine how messy that got.
Ooh. Oh, that's bad. That's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully nobody got hurt.
No, it was okay. It just made a real mess of things in the office for a while.
Well, that's good.
Mm-hmm. So how about you? Are you what exactly are you planning to present?
Oh, well, since there's been a lot of incidents with, well, his people, I've decided to create something to keep people hidden from them. Pretty much an item that looks basic item in the household, but keeps everybody hidden from the Death Eaters.
Okay. Well, I do hope that's well received. I should tell you, the head of the department is Friedrich Foggybottom, and I should tell you he's a bit traditional, so it might be a little hard to get on his good side, but he was very good at Quidditch in his day. So if you kind of drop a few things about Quidditch, maybe he'll warm up to you that way.
Well, I have to see about that. Have to find a way to get to his good side then.
I think he was on the Russian team. Do you know any Russian teams by any chance?
I'm not really interested in Quidditch, so it's quite hard. I might have heard some people talking about some of the teams there.
Well, don't mention that you're not into Quidditch. Definitely don't bring that up.
Of course.
So, Anira will lead him into the toilet, and she'll say, She'll be like,
Yeah.
you get used to this weirdness after a while, but the looks on the muggles' faces are just priceless every time.
Well, if you say so.
So, so there is this lavatory that you can go to, public lavatory. And, Anira, I'm assuming, would you go first or would you have Vienno go first? What would you?
Since she's guiding him, I think she would go first.
Okay. So, Vienno, you're going to see Anira enter into the stall by herself. And you'll hear shuffling and then a flush. And then after the flush, there's silence from within the stall. I'm sure that Vienno is intelligent enough to know, especially since he's been around the wizarding world quite often, to know that he's supposed to enter the stall himself, going into the toilet, and also flush himself down the toilet.
Well, here goes.
I don't know how common this is, back where you're from, but
It's weird, but I think he's fine with it.
Okay.
Little weirded out.
You will eventually emerge and find yourself in the atrium of the Ministry of Magic. Now, I know for many viewers of the movies, this was a very cool moment to be able to get to see for the very first time. I'm sure that Vienno maybe has seen the Ministry over on his side of the world. I don't know. So if you have, you can decide for yourself whether or not this is more or less impressive. But there are people in suits all over the place, bustling around, going from one place to another, and many people are going into the elevators specifically to get to their work.
You would definitely be looking around, intrigued by the environment. Well, this is a little different than it's at home, but intriguing.
How is it at home?
At home, it has a little bit of Russian influence in it, since that, wars. But it has its own, little more traditional, I could say. Little, older looking, I guess we could say.
Well, I certainly hope this place measures up to your home base.
Yes, it is a great place.
You guys at this point will be passing by a large portrait of the current Minister of Magic, Rufus Scrimgeour. Now, for those of you who remember from the books, the book started with Cornelius Fudge as the Ministry of Magic, but then he ended up being replaced by Rufus Scrimgeour. So he is now presiding as the minister currently. Vienno may or may not recognize who that is. I'm sure Vienno would have recognized the name Cornelius Fudge. So at least for right now, I'll say that Vienno might be a little confused because I'm sure he might have thought, oh, I thought Cornelius Fudge was the Minister of Magic in Britain.
Is he in charge now? I thought Cornelius was in charge.
She kind of glances up at the portrait and she says, "Oh, you mean Roofie? Yeah, he's in charge now."
Roofie. Weird name.
Anira probably knows that she would not refer to the minister as Roofie in front of anyone else.
Of course.
But I find it cute that you refer to him as such in front of Vienno.
That's the kind of friendship they have, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's
oh
one
yeah,
weird name.
Go ahead. It's fine.
Yeah, that's one weird name.
Well, to everyone else, he's Rufus Scrimger.
Hmm.
To me and you now, he's Roofie.
Yeah, Roofie. I can remember that much better.
And to Ew, he's Roofie friend.
Yes.
My Roofie friend.
Oh gosh.
That's
Oh,
Drop that into the Discord channel. I think we know what the title of this video is going to be.
oh god.
What kind of inventions are you making there, Anira? Okay.
Nothing quite so sinister.
You guys are going to reach the elevators, and I'm going to say that already in the elevator, you will recognize a individual named Augustus Mermont. So Anira, Augustus Mermont, he's pretty much your typical businessman at the Ministry of Magic. He's got, a dark suit. Currently isn't wearing a tie with a slightly unbuttoned shirt, but he still looks very presentable. He actually works for the Department of International Magical Cooperation. He is an ambassador to the Japanese Ministry of Magic. And he pretty much is also another, your standard, not really no-nonsense kind of individual. But I'm sure you've met enough that he sort of knows your name, but every time he sees you, he always gets the name wrong. And so you enter into the elevator, and he sort of gives you a friendly smile. He tries to be nice to you. And he said, "Oh, good morning, Aira."
And Anira's jaw kind of visibly tightens a little bit, but she still gives him a professional appearance, and she says, Good morning, Mr. Marmont. How are you today?"
Doing just fine. Did you have a good weekend?
Oh, of course I did. I I walked around the streets of London a little bit. I managed to find some interesting spots just to have a quiet moment to myself.
Good to hear. You can tell he wasn't really interested in hearing about your weekend. He just said it just because that's the thing you say in an elevator. He'll notice that Vienno's with you, and he'll say, "Who's your friend?"
This is my good friend. He's actually on his way up to present something to the ludicrous patents office.
Oh, that must be quite an honor for someone as young as yourself, he says, looking at Vienno.
Well, yes, it is. I'm very excited.
Oh, well, good luck on the presentation. I'm sure that Friedrich will be very excited to see whatever it is you have up your sleeve.
Thank you.
It'll be at this moment when the elevator will stop at level 7. And he's in Department of International Magical Cooperation is in level 5. So he will nod as you guys start to get off of the elevator. Have a good day, Allura, he says.
And she gives him the tight-jawed smile again, and she says, "You too, sir." And as soon as the elevator doors close, she says, "Mr. Mermaid."
I think there's a little bit of ew inside of Anira, and I love it. Maybe in another life.
In another life, she becomes ew.
She becomes ew in another life. It all makes sense.
Well, he was rude.
Well, you see, I'm being a squib. Being a squib here, it's. I don't know. I feel like they think I should be grateful for this wonderful honor of working in the Ministry of Magic, but in the end, it really doesn't mean that much to me.
Yes. Too bad these people can't understand genius when they see one?
Well, she's a little bit flustered at that, and she says, "Well, let's hope they see your genius when they see it. At least they'll notice you."
Yes, I guess. How is Naila, by the way, your sister?
Oh, she's doing very well. She's from what I understand, she's making very high marks in all of her classes. A fact which the rest of my family is very eager to tell me every single time I talk to them.
Parents. Your parents seem to be pretty people.
Well, I know they love me and I know they mean well, but the rest of my family seems very relieved that they don't have just one daughter to be an embarrassment for them. Instead, they have another daughter that they can dote on.
Well, at least you can actually talk about this kind of stuff. I really can't say same to my parents. I have to always keep my hobbies and, well, anything I do pretty much a secret from them. And always have to come up with something to, well, tell them what I'm doing.
Don't you have your own place to practice your work?
Not yet. I have to find a place, or, well, I'm thinking of maybe traveling around. Maybe that way I can find new ideas for my inventions.
I think traveling around is a great place to broaden your perspective a little bit.
Yes. Well, hopefully people here are willing to accept my ideas.
We'll see. Just remember what I told you. Be very confident. He likes people who are very confident. And remember what I said about the Quidditch thing.
Yes. Of course.
And she kind of pats his arm and says, "Don't worry. I'm sure you'll do great."
Let's hope so.
No, remember what I said about confidence. Let's hope so doesn't cut it. Let's try that again. She pats his arm again and says, "Don't worry, you'll do great."
Of course I will.
She gives him a thumbs up.
You're going to finally reach the office for the office of Ludicrous Patent's office. And right by the entrance of the office, you'll pass by a really nice looking I want to say office area that's surrounded by glass, and it's got a very awesome looking desk, which on one side has a bunch of trophies, Quidditch trophies, and you can clearly see a not ginormous but noticeable portrait of this young man riding on a broom with a beater club in his hand, and he's clearly wearing the Koldovstorets robes, the purple Koldovstorets robes, and right underneath you can see that this was a MVP, the portrait of him, Friedrich Foggybottom, winning the MVP for his team that year.
Anira doesn't really mention anything, but she kind of nudges him and, points at the office.
Vienno makes a mental note about this. Okay, this is important. Please keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, I think Anira's in professional mode, like she's in her department, so she's kind of like walking somewhat briskly, not chatting as much anymore.
Okay. Right around this time, there is going to be a small group of gentlemen. We'll probably say I would say three we'll say 4 gentlemen that are approaching your direction, and the one in the center is very clearly Friedrich Foggybottom. He currently has a mug in his hand, probably is drinking coffee or something, and they're chatting it up. And as they reach Ryu, and he will say, good morning, Anira. This must be Vienno?
Yes, it is, sir. And she turns to Vienno.
He'll say, pleased to meet you, Vienno Seppa, I believe.
Yes. It's very nice to meet you.
He will hold his hand out to shake.
And we'll shake his hand.
Nira and her family have put in a very good word for you.
Well, thank you. I'm very honored that they would recommend me.
My colleagues and I are definitely very excited to see your presentation.
Well, I will do my best to impress you then.
He says, how was the trip here?
I've been here a couple of times. Not ministry is the first time I've been to the ministry here.
Oh.
But I have been to England before.
What do you think of the ministry so far? I'm curious, how does it compare to the ministry over by your parts? Where did you say you were from again?
I'm from Finland.
Oh, Finland, I see. Where did you attend school?
Drumstom.
Ah, I see. And he's being polite, but you can visibly see a slight shift in his demeanor when you mentioned that you were from Durmstrang, as well as the 3 other colleagues of his. And but again, the colleagues don't really say anything, but you definitely notice something in their face, like, Durmstrang, I see. Okay, mental note. So there's a little bit of an awkward pause when you say your school.
Yes, I know about how you people recognize my school, and I understand it completely.
You recognize how us people, he says.
Pretty much everyone every visitor who hears about visits from Durmstrang really associates us with the dark magics that are taught there. I went there because it was the closest school to where I could go, and I avoided the dark magics at all cost.
Well, that's very nice to hear, Mr. Seppa. He says. He relaxes a little bit. The you people part definitely was a little cringy. Probably maybe Anira might have cringed a little bit.
Anira did cringe.
Yeah.
Ooh, is it a little hot in here?
I think maybe Anira's been kind of jotting down notes on a clipboard or something, and if she gets a chance, she'll kind of shift over toward Vienno and show him what she's written down. And what she's written down is just you can say that there was a slight language barrier or something.
Yeah. So,
as an excuse.
Sorry about that. English is not my first language, so I'm sorry if you misunderstand something I said.
Not a problem at all. He says. We'll just definitely forget about it and just move on.
Yes, of course.
So he said, so why don't you follow us over to the next to the meeting room over here, and you can get yourself set up for your presentation. One of the other older gentlemen in the group says, Anira, could you please get me my coffee too, please?
Yes, sir, right away. And just black coffee, or would you like cream and sugar today?
Cream and sugar, but not as much sugar as you gave me last time. That was a bit too much.
Oh, I apologize for that, sir. I'll remember that.
and then he will give you a smile, and then they will go off and start to escort Vienno to the meeting room.
Yes. If she's able to catch his eye before they go off, she's gonna give him a good line, as quietly as possible, still trying to seem professional.
Okay. So you'll go into this room, where there'll be a place for the 4 gentlemen, including Friedrich Foggy-Bottom, to sit. Vienno, you're free to get yourself set up however you want to do your presentation, and Anira will eventually come back with that gentleman's coffee, and then there'll be a spot specifically for you to sit so that you can take notes of everything that happens during this meeting. So, Vienno, if you just want to describe for us what you do to set up, and then if you could give your presentation, you don't have to verbally say everything, but if you at least want to describe what happens during the presentation,
Of course.
what you can do that. Go ahead.
Well, he would take out his suitcase that he has and pulls out items that look like normal everyday items, like a normal lamp, a candelabra, and what else? Some sort of trophy.
Okay. And while he's taking out these muggle items, I guess, like an electrical lamp, for example, I'm going to say that at minimum, Anira might notice a few brows furrow a little bit from the congregation, as if to wonder, what is this? I don't understand. But they're going to not say anything and just wait patiently for his presentation to start.
Well, he would start. Well, gentlemen, as you can see, these are very ordinary items that you could find in a normal muggle's home, or anyone's home if you would. But instead of what they seem, they have a completely different effect. I have hidden in them a magic that could hide people from the eyes of he who should not be named minions. These items look completely normal, but they have the ability to hide them from any unwanted people.
Okay. So he sort of interrupts you in the middle of your presentation before you even have a chance to show them, like, what it does. That's when Friedrich Foggy-Bottom will say, "A moment. I'm sorry. There's just something about this that I don't quite understand. These are Muggle items that you've enchanted with magic? I guess I don't understand. Why are they Muggle items?"
Well, would you like some muggles to... Muggle items are much easier to hide. People would not pay any mind to any wizard would never pay any mind to muggle items, would they?
So, another gentleman says, "Are these meant to be used by wizards and witches, or muggles?"
I don't see why not both.
Well, muggles don't know about he who shall not be named.
Of course they don't. But that doesn't mean that they wouldn't be affected by him.
So, are you suggesting that we would distribute these items to muggles in case they were attacked by the Death Eaters?
That would be an option, yes.
How much funding do you think that would be, Friedrich? One of them turns to it. It would definitely be quite not only that, but the effort too involved to try to distribute items like this to however many Muggle families there are in the world.
I can understand that you would find this difficult, but it's not really required much effort. It would require just normal muggle items to be enchanted with this magic I have created.
Why? Friedrich says, I don't quite understand why you have seemed to have an insistence on these muggle items. Mixing magic and muggle technology is... Let me be completely honest. It's a bit of abomination, if I was being very blunt with you. It's just not something that... One of the other gentlemen pipes up. It is completely polluting the sanctity of magic, of wizards and witches through all time, to have you mixing our craft in with this muggle tech. It's like mud magic, one of them says. Mud magic, yes, that's a good way to describe that. Mud magic. This abominational mud magic.
Anira doesn't say anything at that. Like, she's still very professional, but you might hear her quill kind of scratching a little bit. Sorry, 1 second. Cat. Come on. There we go. Sorry about that. So outwardly, Anira is still very professional. She's still keeping up her role, but you might hear her quill scratching a little bit louder while she's taking that note. But she doesn't say anything.
If I may, I was raised by people that I don't know even if they have magic. I was raised by family that seems to not know about magic at all. I have lived, well, most of my young life before I learned about magic like I was a muggle. I know about their world much more than, well, some others might know.
We're not saying this because we're putting down muggles. We are saying this because mixing the two worlds, it's just not a good idea. Not only is it not a good idea, but it's a preposterous abomination. That's what it is. And it is an insult, again, to the sanctity of the purity of magic. We understand, Vienno, that your main focus in research has been to discover ways for electrical devices to operate around magic. It's an interesting pursuit, one that I'm sure many of the younger wizards and witches of your generation can see potential in. However, we hesitate on the can of worms such a quote-unquote breakthrough would cause, and the social implications that it would have, such as this.
These are only examples of items it could be done. It could be done to any items you would like. Any items that any wizard would have. It could be done to them too. These were just examples that I had made.
It's going to be at this point where the group seems to be about to respond, and again, the gentlemen in general don't seem to be very convinced and are very appalled. One particular seems to be very offended by this whole presentation, and you suddenly feel a chill in the air, as if something all of a sudden is not right, and you can sense that everyone in the room, Anira included, can sort of sense this. And Friedrich Foggybottom looks around, and again, there's a pause of silence of the four gentlemen perking their ears up, listening, as if they're expecting to hear something.
I'm looking around trying to figure out what's going on, and going closer to the items I have. I have an inkling something feels not wrong, and he's ready for some kind of defense.
The door, there's a knocking on the door, and you can hear a voice from the other side call out, "Friedrich, Friedrich, are you in there? And Friedrich walks over to the door. And I'm going to need you to roll me 2d6s, Anira, please. Feel free to add +2 to this, I will say.
+2?
Yeah. Or I'll give you more. Add +4.
+4.
Add 4 to this 2d6. Mm-hmm.
Okay, her roll was 11. I mean, her roll was 7, and then +4 is 11.
You recognize the voice to be Hunter Lionheart. He is a middle-aged man, handsome middle-aged man, who actually works as a lawyer for magical law here at the Ministry. And I would say that during the interactions you've had with him briefly, he's always treated you with a lot of respect. I would say that you've had no problem with him. You probably like him as a person. And at least as far as you can tell, he seems like a good lawyer. And so you recognize his voice almost immediately. Friedrich goes over to the door and he opens it and he says, "Hunter, what is it?" And he looks around and he says, "Who else is with you?" And he says, "Well, the rest of the heads of the patent office, plus our scribe and a guest." And Hunter looks over at the group and he says, "I need you four to come with me." And he sees Anira and says, "Anira, you and your friend stay here for now. Do not open the door," he says.
And she says, "Of course, sir," but like just outwardly she's saying this and staying professional, but she glances at Vienno like this is not normal.
You can see clearly that Hunter has his wand out. Again, which is typically not normal at the Ministry of Magic.
Mm-hmm.
Friedrich will summon the other three of his companions over, and they seem very confused as you guys are. And Hunter puts his hand on Friedrich's shoulder, and he says, "I'll explain on the way." And he will usher the group out. Hunter will shut the door, and you'll be able to hear a spell being cast by Hunter. I don't remember the spell's name, but it is the opposite of Alohomora.
Mm.
So it is magical locking spell.
Okay.
And then you'll hear a lot of shuffling going on outside of the door in the office, and a lot of movement, and you can hear mumbling of confused voices asking what's happening, what's going on, but not really getting a clear answer as to what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then shortly after, there'll be silence. And you and Vienno are in this room, locked in this room.
Okay. This is not normal, right? This doesn't feel normal.
This is extremely unusual, and she's kind of dropped the whole professional face, and she's very concerned. She's left her quill and pen behind on her desk or whatever, and she's moved closer to Vienno, and she actually goes to the door and she tries it.
You'll go over the door and you'll try it, and the door does not budge open. It seems to be sealed shut.
She turns back to Vienno and says, I don't know if we should try to open the door or if we should just stay here like he told us.
Do you trust that guy?
Well, he's always been very respectful to me. He seems to be trustworthy. I don't see any reason not to trust him.
In that case, if you trust him, then we should stay here. And Vienno is going to activate one of his items too, just in case he's not feeling, everything's not going well, and he's pretty paranoid right now, so he's being extra sure. So
you activate the device, and then what happens? Or tell us how that device gets activated.
Activated, it's just adding some magic to the item, and it would activate for about 12 hours. Activate it. It first gives a little sign, and there's a small wave that hits all the walls of the room, and so momentarily the walls of the room will simmer and die down. So now the room itself is basically invisible to Death Eaters.
It's invisible to Death Eaters.
Yes.
Okay. But you can still see each other then.
Yeah. Yes. It's just invisible to the Death Eaters. They can't sense anything inside here.
Okay.
Anira is she's very impressed at what just happened, and she says, so if I got this correctly, anyone from He Who Shall Not Be Named army cannot see us right now?
Yes, it should work for a while. There is a limit to how long it can be active at one time, but it should keep us hidden for at least 12 hours.
Well, let's hope we don't have to hide for that long, but still.
It was meant to be for longer times because of what's going on, so I made them sure that they could last.
Well, if they don't see the value of something like this, then this place is doomed.
Let's hope not. I like this place. People not so much, but the place itself, yes, nice place.
Some time passes, and because of the silence, it might feel like forever, but in reality, it's probably would be about 10, maybe 15 minutes would pass by, when all of a sudden, a figure appears in the room, a wispy, ghostly figure that the two of you immediately recognize as a Patronus. This Patronus is in the shape of a lynx. I will ask both Vienno and Anira to roll. For Vienno, this is going to be a knowledge history check for you. For Anira, just roll me 2d6s and add a +4.
Okay. Ooh, 9.
9? Okay.
12.
That's with the +4, by the way.
12. Okay. So, Vienno, you may not have been up to date on the Minister of Magic. However, you do recognize the Patronus, the Lynx Patronus, as a Patronus that is associated with Mr. Kingsley Shacklebolt. And you will hear, Anira, a voice emanating from the Lynx Patronus. With a 9, you will recognize as Kingsley Shacklebolt's voice. And the message from the Lynx, as it passes through the room, says, "The ministry is under attack. Stay where you are and keep the doors sealed." That's all the message says.
Well, I'm glad we're one step ahead of that.
Yes. Oh, this is not good. The first day I'm in the ministry and we are attacked.
She looks at him and kind of gives a nervous smile, and she says, "So how is your first visit going so far?"
You know, it was going well at the start. Everything was fine. Then the presentation came and everything started going not so well, and now apparently there's unwanted visitors here, and no, well, it could be better.
She says, "Well, if I had to be trapped in a room with anyone, I'd rather have you than any of these clowns."
Well, thank you.
I'm gonna say you'll be in this room for another half an hour. And it's probably, as each time passes, I'm sure you guys are trying to keep each other's spirits high, but the more that things go on with no other news except for what was given by Shacklebolt, you might start getting a little antsy, anxious, nervous, wondering what's going on out there.